So I saw an interesting tweet actually about an hour before we recorded. So when I say Kate Winslet, what do you say?
Titanic.
Right, because that is a normal thing. According to her, the movie that she is most recognized for is The Holiday. People come up to her and say, "You're from The Holiday."
I've never even seen The Holiday. Like, my second vote would be Mayor of Easttown.
Yeah, right? Or, Revolutionary Road, something she won an Oscar for.
Yeah, I think those would be good choices. That seems fair.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But no, I guess people like that movie a lot.
Yeah, not for me.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Working on the Dad Pod. I'm Alex. With me, as always, is my co-host Ethan. And today we are talking about birthday parties, partly because my son just had one, and partly because there's something you've kind of got to do, at least for us, twice a year, every year, specifically kids' birthday parties. We're not going to get too existential about the fact that we're in our mid-30s and we continue to spin around the sun, and we're maybe a half or a third of the way done. But anyway, before we get started on that, I want to take this second to remind you guys to like and subscribe to us on YouTube. We're at youtube.com/@workingonthedadpod. That is the best way that you can help support us and help us grow this podcast. If you get your podcast from Spotify, Apple, subscribe there, listen there, but hop over to YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that bell for notifications so you can be notified every time a new video pops up. And spoiler alert, we've got a new editing process. And I'm thinking, as a special bonus for our YouTube listeners, I'm not going to schedule it for the next morning. If I can get this thing out tonight, I might just post it right now. So if you're a night owl and you're like, I really want to hear some dads talk about birthday parties, make sure you hit that bell on YouTube. And if you got comments, YouTube is also a fantastic place to leave them. We're also on Twitter, Threads, TikTok, Instagram. All those links will be in the show notes, so check those out. And then the final reminder that I wanted to give you so that we don't have to derail our conversation later, friendly reminder that Ethan and I are not experts. This is not a very expert-heavy discussion that we're about to have, but there anything where you're like, you don't sound like an expert on that. We're not. Just take that with a grain of salt. If we have experts that we've listened to, we'll try to link those in the show notes. But otherwise, please consult experts before doing anything medically related or anything that you should be advising an expert on. Use your own judgment, not ours. Anyway, Ethan, how you doing today?
I am questioning why I'm even here. That was kind of perfect. I feel like James Carville in the episode or in the movie Old School, where he just has no response in the debate. So I'm good to go, man.
I don't know how Will Ferrell's character did it, because it seemed like he just got possessed. My method was actually, while my wife was putting the kids to bed, I was washing dishes, and I actually rehearsed that a couple of times so that I would just be like, okay, what are all the points? Don't stumble on it. I want to be smooth, right?
That was great. So, and wow, I was like, really just you broke the illusion, man. I really thought that was just right off the cuff. So I must say that was less impressive now that I know it was rehearsed.
I didn't like sit there like giving a speech to the mirror kind of thing, but I'm like, I want to touch on YouTube, tell people to leave a comment. Yeah, I want to get it more systemized. But
well, that was pretty good. I'm proud of you, and I'm excited to get into this topic because even though my kids did not just have a birthday, I just had, I think, 5 birthday parties over the last 4 weekends that I had to take kids to. So I am there, right there with you.
Ooh, yeah, that's a lot. But before we get into that, first up is story time. Last season we called it wins and losses. This season it's story time. We're gonna maybe dip into some gray areas of wins and losses. I know I am, but Ethan, why don't you kick us off? With story time.
So my story happened before this episode, after the Kate Winslet tweet was read. And so quick question though. You have a 31st birthday. We are recording on this leap day, February 29th. Tomorrow is March 1st. There is no 30th or 31st. Do you get a month older tomorrow? Or is it, when does that happen? When do you celebrate this month? Because so either tomorrow my daughter is 18 months old, or I say nothing. Yeah. 31st birthday.
She's 18 months old. A month went by. It's a short one.
Okay. There's just no day to commemorate it, I guess. Anywho,
just because the 100 meters isn't a marathon doesn't mean it's not a race. Same kind of thing.
Okay, I like that. Anyway, I like it.
That one was off the cuff.
It was good. It was good. You're not even wearing cuffs. So that was bad podcasting. Anyway, tomorrow, my daughter mathematically will be 18 months old, and she was having a night full of tantrums. And right before we split them at bedtime, where I put the 4-year-old down to sleep and my wife put her down to sleep, she was crying a lot. And my mini-me, the 4-year-old, started going like this, yells her name and goes, ooh, I got me. And the 18-month turns to her as if she would me, thinks about laughing, thinks about stopping crying, looks at me, looks at her sister, and is like, nah, and then continued to cry. But my wife and I both turned to my 4-year-old and we were just like, I was proud. I thought, wow, that is mini-me really hits home and you feel great about it. And that was when my wife just further realized that she stuck with 2 of me. So overall, that's my little story time. I'm going to call that a win, despite the fact that the kid kept crying.
Yeah. I mean, it's not really my whole story, but I guess it kind of ties into it. It reminds me of this morning we were going to the gym and we park up by the road. There's a fence between the main road and the parking lot we park in. But the reason we park in this parking lot instead of around to the side of the gym is that we get to park in front of a grass lot that's maybe 50 yards long. And so we go across the grass yard into the front of the gym and the kids can like run and I don't have to hold their hand across the parking lot. It's like bumper of the car, grass, 50 yards building kind of thing. So yesterday we had to park on the other side of the parking lot and like walk just across one row of cars to get to this grass lot. But as soon as we get the kids out of the car, I'm like, guys, it's a parking lot. And my daughter immediately, just without me prompting her, and this is not something that she normally does, she just runs over to my son and she goes, hey, parking lot, hold my hand. And she grabs his hand and she looks both ways. And then she crosses with him and there was not a car in sight. It's not a busy parking lot. And she walks across. I'm like, be still, my heart. She's just nurturing him. And it was very nice. But her growing up, right? Obviously, my son has had his 2nd birthday this past weekend. And he's growing up by leaps and bounds. He's speaking in almost full sentences now in ways that he wasn't even a few weeks ago. But my daughter is doing these things where it's just like, I am amazed by her ability and her knowledge to do things where this morning, I had a bunch of mini bagels for the kids, and I also could just like make them the traditional oatmeal that I usually make them. And I asked them, hey, do you want a bagel or oatmeal? My daughter's like, I want a bagel. I want a bagel with peanut butter and raisins on it, and I want some berries on the side. And I want to make it. I was like, sure, great. By all means, give it a go. I gave her the peanut butter, raisins, all the things from the counter she couldn't reach. She sat there with a butter knife, made her whole breakfast, looked great, set it there, and I'm like, wow, I'm really proud. But then I had this moment. She turns to my wife and she goes, can you take a picture of my breakfast and post it? Because I want everybody to see what I'm eating. Ethan,
wow.
my wife posted it on her Instagram, basically with essentially that caption. to say,
Mhm.
I've created a monster.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's kind of wild. And my wife posting it to her Instagram is like not some small thing. It's not like you or us or our, I don't know what my wife's follower count is, but it's 6 or 7,000 at least, right? On Instagram. And so it's not a small audience that gets to see that my daughter has some aspiration. My daughter, who neither one of us show her face on social media, we don't mention her name on this podcast or anywhere on social media. She wants to be an influencer, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, it's a
Amen.
very weird. Where did you learn that people like? Sure, my wife will post sometimes our dinner and be like, "Wow, look at what my husband cooked," or "Look at this awesome meal I've got." But I didn't know that my daughter then noticed and made that connection and was like, "I want to do that too. I want everybody to see the food I'm making." I'm like, "Okay,
They observe everything, man. They are
really do."
sponges. And yeah, sometimes our 4-year-old will just say something that we did not know she was aware was going on around her, and it is
Hmm.
truly shocking. But that's a pretty good one. I enjoy it. I look forward to going back to your wife's Instagram and seeing what that meal looks like. I might
Yeah,
even yeah. So do you want to kick off the topic, since you just recently
yeah.
hosted a
So
birthday party?
I find birthday parties fascinating, right? Kids'
Mhm.
birthday parties, because we have run the gamut on basically how we feel about birthday parties, right? We
Mhm.
have done everything from my son's first birthday party, and heck, let's be honest, the second birthday party was just like grandparents, friends, backyard, have some fun. That's pretty much how my daughter's was too. Just small little get together, not inviting classmates for first or second birthday parties. And I think it was my daughter's third birthday party where we really started inviting classmates because she asked for it essentially. But we have had some where we've gotten really into planning the theme and the guest lists and exactly what the menu is going to be. And for my daughter's third birthday party, as I mentioned before, one of my hobbies is home brewing, and I like her birthday's in October. And so I brewed a keg of Oktoberfest for the grown-ups, but like I had
Mhm.
5 of like homebrew beer sitting in a keg at a park kind of thing, right? It was a whole vibe versus my son's second birthday party, and let's be honest, his first birthday party too. Like the Thursday before, we're like, all right, what are we doing for this kid on Saturday?
Right.
We
Right.
we should really do something. I mean, he's getting second kidded hard, but it's kind of the same conversations we had around my daughter's second birthday. The first one, the first birthday party ever for the first kid is absolutely a for the parents thing, right?
Mhm.
It's like
Yeah, you
you
made it a
show off
year.
your
Let's celebrate.
baby, you want to make
Mhm.
it a big thing. It's about entertaining everybody. It is not about the kid. It is about showing off how great you have done as a parent. They are still alive. They made it. But my biggest thing is it is crazy to me how from one birthday to another, we can actually just go from, you know, we can actually go from like not caring at all to caring so much from kid to kid, from birthday to birthday. And it really is a lot of like, what's the season of life? Like, I don't know. Do you guys fluctuate on those plannings?
So for us, for our two daughters, other than our first daughter's first birthday, when we went all out, you were virtually there. We invited, like 60 or so people and had a successful happy birthday sing over Zoom, which was shocking that that many people pulled it off, but it didn't sound terribly. And because that was, November 2020, so right in the right in the thick of things. A week after the election, still everything's going nuts with the pandemic. So we did the virtual birthday. Since then, every single birthday we've done. So the next four, three for my older daughter, three more for my older daughter, and my 18-month-old's first, have all been at the same. We've done the same thing. There is our townhouse community is in between two parks. One is a big park that people are always at. The other one is like a wide open space that also happens to have a swing set and a pretty big jungle gym, but nobody goes to that one. So each time we have just decided that's where we're going to have it. It is 100 yards from our home. And so it's simply just like us walking stuff back and forth. That's the prep we do. And
that's a move.
I will usually go to Costco, not a sponsor, but Costco the day before, and buy we usually do like morning because our daughters pretty much nap consistently in like 12:30 to 1 when they're at home, and then through like 3 or 4. So we do the morning birthday party, and we provide coffee and morning snacks, and then the cupcakes for the kids and stuff. So we've done, even though you can get lost at Costco in the spending, we've done for the most part like low budget, outdoor, room to run around. With we've gone away from inviting the whole class because frankly, we talked about last season how being cautious of the classmates that your kids want as friends and how you interact with those parents, we've gotten to be a bit more selective in who gets the invite. And we even toned back some of the virtual requirements. For example, with my parents in Los Angeles, they really were into, calling in at 7:30 or 8 a.m. to like sing happy birthday at the party. My brother definitely no longer does that, but my parents get the option, but it's no longer a we expect you to be there kind of thing. So
yeah, my dad has come down for every single one of my kids' birthday parties, except for my daughter's 5th birthday party. So her most recent one, as you know, and I think I mentioned this last season. In fact, I know I mentioned this last season, but my wife got a little bit of a wild hair and wanted to take her to New York City, and basically offered her a weekend in New York City with mom or a birthday party. And she chose the weekend in New York City. And I got to tell you, the planning for that on my end was a breeze, right? It's like, I'm going to sit home and deal with one kid by myself. I missed the idea of actually spending time with my daughter. They flew out on Friday morning and they had like a 8 a.m. flight or something, which means they have to leave at like 5:30 or something just to be safe. And my daughter like woke me up and gave me a hug so I could say happy birthday to her, but that was all I got. So that was a little bittersweet. Like I think next year maybe want to go on the trip if we think my son can hang, or if we think my son can stay behind with a grandma if we don't think he can hang. But I would highly recommend that option to a lot of parents that maybe are frustrated. It doesn't have to be something like New York City. My wife found a decent hotel, decent flight, all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's necessarily break the bank, but I think wherever you are, you could plan a weekend away and it could be within driving distance, right? For us, a weekend in Miami wouldn't be crazy or something like that.
Right.
So I think if you say, oh, I'm going to travel 2 or 3 hours away and we can go somewhere for the weekend, because kids, at least my kids, I don't know about your kids, but my kids just get geeked about the concept of staying in a hotel. They're just like, hotel. Yes. I don't know how many hotels your kids have stayed at, because I know a lot of your travel is like out to your parents in LA, but my kids get geeked about hotels because we do them a lot when we go up to Orlando for theme parks.
So my kids have actually never stayed in a hotel, solely because the times that they would have been around weddings that were no kid weddings. And ultimately each one of those, we just opted that they wouldn't come with us. So, yeah, or with me singular. On that note, we're now in the discussions of trying to figure out what we're going to do with our kids. Should we both go to another wedding in Puerto Rico in May? So just got to figure that out. but that's not this topic. But I
No,
do want
go
to.
ahead.
Oh, so I was as this popped into my mind. So because I mentioned I've gone to I think 5 or so birthday parties over the last 4-ish weekends, and that's even counting the one I skipped this last Saturday because my daughter was in fact sick. I was curious, do most places that offer birthday parties in your area, is it pretty much the same price? For example, any place that you want to have a birthday party where we live is roughly $500 for like either like the first 10 or 15 kids that get invited, and then it's like a price per kid after that. And it doesn't matter if you're going to this place that is essentially like a little kids community where it's a warehouse where it's called Little Towns, where they
Yeah.
built a like warehouse, just like every room is like a different part of the town, like a
Mhm.
fire station, a baker, blah. And then there's, like the indoor trampoline zones and like all this stuff where you can go. Essentially, every single one starts at $500. It's either 10 or 15 kids. And then there's like, it's like $15 to $25 per kid after that. So is that the same concept where you guys are at with for like places? Or is
I
there
think
like
so.
actual like price fluctuation? Yeah.
I think
Okay.
so. So my daughter's third birthday party and her fourth birthday party were both at a park. So we have a park that's maybe 12 minutes away from us, and we rented a pavilion, and I want to say that was about $100 for the pavilion rental, but it's just like a flat fee. It's not a per head kind of thing. And we
Mhm.
did that because that park has a splash pad, just a public splash pad, so the kids could bring their
Mhm.
swim stuff. And for her third birthday party, we were at the pavilion that was like right on the edge of the splash pad. And then for her fourth birthday party, we were at the pavilion that was maybe 40 feet away from the splash pad. So the kids could just kind of walk out. The parents could keep an eye on them. They're in the splash pad, and by splash pad, I mean literally like at most foot deep water. So, not a safety hazard even for my son or any other littles. But we never did the thing where we paid that, but I have looked at some of them because we've been to birthday parties like that, and I've always just been
Mhm.
curious. And so we did one that was at like a
Right.
trampoline park. We've been to one, we've been to several, I think like mini golf kind of facilities that would have like mini golf and playgrounds and
Mhm.
pizza and stuff. And let me just say that I don't know what age mini golf's an appropriate birthday party, but it's not a fourth or fifth birthday party. Like homies can't mini golf.
Yeah, it's that
It's
age.
chaos. It's chaos. So yeah, I would say I don't have a good grasp of exactly what it costs, but it does seem kind of like that, where all the party packages are fairly pricey. And it also becomes one of those things where I don't know if it's worth it. And I'm not sure that I want to like spring for everybody like that, because this sort of leads me into my next topic. And I think it's a little different for you than for me. But at my daughter's school, we've done for her third party and her fourth party, we did the invite the whole class thing. We don't have any sort of outside of these kind of school events, birthday parties. We don't have any sort of friendships or relationships with her classmates' parents. It's just sort of not how that school really is. We don't have like text chains. Probably would be good, but at least for my daughter's class, she's only got a few months left, and then she's out and on to kindergarten. And maybe things change there with a different school and different parents. So for me, it's like I don't really like know you, and I'm just inviting your kid because it'll make my daughter happy. And I'm not going to shell out 25 bucks a head when a few bucks worth of pizza and whatever your portion of the pavilion rental is going to cost so far. Because again, like it hasn't been like we've pushed the pavilion and the splash pad on my daughter. That has been her choice. Like we threw that out as an idea. She's like, yeah, I
Mhm.
really want that. And so she's been hyped about
Mhm.
it, right? It's never been a compromise thing. And I think whether it's there or somewhere else, we'll probably do something in that same vein, renting a pavilion at a park, whether it's that park or another playground, for my son's birthday party, because we're in Florida and it's like good weather in February and it's usually a fantastic time to be outside. So we'll probably do that. Whereas like for especially your older daughter, like November in DC outside can sometimes be dicey, right? So
yeah, we've gotten lucky with her outdoor party pretty much each year. There was one year, I believe it was her third birthday, that we got to midway through the birthday song, so an hour into it before it started drizzling, and we just kind of rushed through the end of Happy Birthday, and everybody went on their way. So that worked out.
Yeah.
For the
only
most part.
thing that's like crazy to me about these pavilion rental parts of it is like you basically have to, when we finished my daughter's third birthday, we called like 2 weeks later and we're just like, we want to do that again so we can reserve it for next year. And we're like, we'll just get way ahead of it. And we couldn't even get the same pavilion we got that was the close one to the splash pad because it was already booked for 50 weeks in advance, 50. I'm just like,
wow.
Good God.
Wow.
Good God. High demand. High demand. So I don't know, but I always find sort of the inviting thing has been interesting because we have not parsed it, right? We've either said no classmates for the first 2 years, and then after that, it's just been invite the whole class because we're only talking about 10 kids. I am curious as my daughter gets older, because I think she's going to be the trailblazer in this area, obviously, and gets to elementary school and first grade, and maybe her friend list diversifies because it's kids from dance class and friends from kindergarten, and they're not in her first grade class, but she's still really close friends with them, or friends that she currently has that aren't going to her elementary school. And I'll be interested to see how that goes. But right now we haven't done that, but it does create sort of this interesting, it's one of the things that like I hate the most about birthday parties is making the small talk with these parents that I don't regularly talk to. It's like, yeah, tell me about a little bit about yourself, and you end up like talking parenting, which I get like is a weird complaint as I'm sitting here talking about parenting, but it feels very forced when I'm doing it.
Yeah, so I would say you're right in that the school that my kids go to and the parents in particular were all a little bit closer in that we do talk more regularly, and that definitely started with the moms all being in a group chat for or for essentially contact tracing on illnesses and stuff. In fact, we had an illness go around. Both the girls were sick last week, and it turns out they were in like the middle of the wave of their class, and their teacher even got it. So it's one of those things where that has been fairly useful. But I'm actually, I looked at my schedule tomorrow, Friday. I don't have any meetings, so I put in some leave, and actually one of my daughter's best friend, her dad, and I are going golfing tomorrow. So, it worked with his schedule too. So I actually am getting some good friends out of this. And, for me, it was pretty needed. I will also say that because my wife works on Saturdays, which is nothing new to the listeners of this podcast, I do a lot of solo dad at the birthday party, but I also have to bring the almost 18-month-old. And I get so much help at these things because they look at me, and I'm always the one that either has to take both kids by myself. Every other family that brings both kids, both parents are there, or one parent takes the kid that's invited to the birthday party, the other one stays home with the younger one. I'm literally the only one that ever shows up with both kids by myself. And no joke, one of the boys in my older daughter's class had a birthday it ended up being at his grandparents' house, like 30 minutes away. And it was the middle of January, there was this big snowstorm a couple days before. So, snow everywhere. I take the drive. I got both girls. I show up. The kid's mom, who's hosting the party, is 8.5 months pregnant, like about to pop. And she would not leave me alone, offering me to help the whole time. And like to the point where they are I believe they are part Venezuelan, part Colombian. So they're big fans of Peruvian chicken, which like my daughters love. And they got all this attention because I've got these two little white girls that are like stuffing their faces with plantains and yuca fries, while the rest of the kids are like, because they also got Chick-fil-A too, because they figured, oh man, there's like a lot of white kids at this party. So like my daughters were going with the Peruvian chicken, which I was like so proud of. And it was just really funny because they even like sent us home with food. And I was like, I can feed my kids. But they were just like, they look so much like they're enjoying it. And then, of course, the now almost 18-month-old goes, Yuka, Yuka, because she heard me saying it. So, of course, I got sent home with a literal giant Tupperware of yuca and plantains. And it's just so funny because it's one of those things where if you listen to our Super Dad episode in season 1, it is both annoying, but also now that I have seen how free everyone else is at these birthday parties because they're either there 2-on-2 with their kids as a couple, or they are 1-on-1. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take all of the help I can with this zone because it, frankly, like it just makes it easy. Like it is nice that my daughters, like if they like, especially the little one, like she's okay, like 20 minutes into the party, letting other people hold her, not me. Like if once she gets like comfortable with everybody. So it was nice to play past the baby and chow down on some Peruvian chicken. So I'm gonna take that as a W.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a pretty good W on that. The last thing that I wanted to touch on, and I know we touched on this previously, season 1. We're going to keep plugging those season 1 episodes because this podcast is not a breaking news podcast 99% of the time. And so those are some evergreen episodes. We're hoping that these are better quality, but in our episode from season 1 about stuff and how much stuff it takes up, we mentioned the concept of these birthday party invites, and I still get them, but I don't always get them, are the invites that say, no gifts, please. And we've written this on my daughter's 3rd and 4th birthdays, and people violate the rule, right? And when you're going to such a party, you almost feel like you should get something small because other people are going to break the rule, and you kind of don't want to be the schmuck that didn't bring a gift. And I just never know where to land on that, right? It becomes so tricky where I want to respect wishes, and maybe I should just take a thing. I think I should just take a firm stance here and say, if you're going to put it on the invitation, I'm going to respect it. If you actually want a gift for your kid, don't put it. But then on the flip side of it, when they don't put any sort of notification about the gifts, obviously the assumption is they want gifts. And again, we're talking about kids that like my daughter knows, but I don't like I met their parents at, the Valentine's Day event at school or something like that, but I don't know them very well. And so when they don't put anything, I'm like, it would have been cool to like put like a link to a gift list, like a QR code, something, like just inviting gifts, but like I don't know your kid. I don't know what your kid has. And I don't want to, I don't know. I'm like, God, that's so like, ugh, like now I'm just gonna get them some crap that I think they might like. Well, let's hope for the best. And probably overthinking that part of it too. But I find gift giving to kids so like, how do I get a thoughtful gift for this kid that they may not have when I don't have much frame of reference for what their interests are?
So I will say that since we recorded the Space and Stuff episode in season 1, I have kind of changed my tune in that we've stopped putting no gifts on our invites, and we kind of are now just always bringing a gift, solely because everyone else is bringing gifts. We now no longer don't want to be the one that doesn't bring a gift. And since we are, at least on our end, being a little more not elitist, but more selective with our guest list than even some of the other parents have been, where we're kind of just inviting the kids of the parents we like best. If we do get gifts, it's a pretty limited number. So
Sure.
we're kind of just whatever. And then we live walking distance to like a TJ Maxx and a Marshalls. So when we're not really breaking the bank on gifts, there's always something that can be kind of cool,
Yeah.
you know, therefore, and they'll move on. So I'm really not trying to break the bank, but if I can get them to enjoy it for just a wee bit, that's a win for me. So
Yeah.
so that's kind of where
I
we've
think
landed.
I think where I've landed over the course of just me talking and then with your bit there, I think I've landed that I'm probably overthinking it. But I think our goal with the no gifts is rarely like I'm not like mad at the people that
Probably,
bring the gifts.
having known you for
Yeah. Like I think where we are
having
is
sorry,
go ahead.
technical issue there, but having known you for having known you for 15 years, you overthinking something, I'd say, is pretty standard. So I'm sure that would have flowed better without a technical issue.
Yeah, but I think I'm not mad at the people that bring gifts when I say no gifts, please, because I think what my honest, realistic goal is in that situation is for the gift number to just be lower. Like if a few people listen to it, then it's less than it would have been. And taking that win
Mhm.
is kind of nice. But yeah, I think with birthday parties, it's just like I don't have some huge profound thought. So I think it's one of those things where we are just like we're trying to figure out what the best thing to do is and not offend people. And I find it just to be such an interesting dynamic and an interesting dynamic of like what the kids want and how they want to, pick themes or pick what they want to do or pick what they want. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about birthday parties. I feel like Forrest Gump there. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I was going to make the same Forest comment, but yeah, should we? Not happy to make this transition because I was not happy with what I saw on the numbers today. But would you like to give an update on working on the dad bod?
Yes, I would. With this fancy,
Oh,
fancy
look at that!
banner. Yeah, look at that.
That is
All right,
fancy schmancy.
so
I like that a
I'm
lot.
gonna get my chin over the bar here for everybody watching. But yeah, we can talk about working on the dad bod. So I'll do good news, bad news
Wait,
first.
wait, 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 wait. Did you just do a chin up? Chin up
Yeah,
over the
sure,
bar.
something like that. Um,
Yeah, working out.
so we'll do good news, bad news, and I'll start with my good. I lost about half a pound this
A
week.
hole.
Last week I was at 185.2, I think. This week I was at 148.8, which I felt pretty good about. Um, I feel like I say this every week, but another sort of life got in the way kind of week. Obviously, I had my son's birthday party. I felt like I did a pretty good job of not overeating at the birthday party with like pizza and cake and all that kind of stuff. But then on Sunday through Tuesday, my daughter and I were both like kind of not feeling great. My daughter stayed home from school Monday, and it was that kind of not feeling great where neither of us were running a fever, but we clearly felt sick. And then we got over it. And so that kind of affected it. Where on Tuesday, like I just straight up got to dinner time and was like, I haven't eaten anything since breakfast. That's a problem. That's not good. I'm really hungry. I've only had 400 calories so far today with my black coffee. So I've had a couple of weird weeks and it's affected how I worked out, right? And so like Tuesday, I just did like a really low key mobility workout. Like I went into the gym, but I wasn't feeling like I had the energy to weightlift. And then I weightlifted yesterday, and then I did mobility again today. So it's kind of been an off week in terms of the amount of exercise I've done, but my eating's been down. And I think I am going to make it a goal here. Like, obviously, my goal is 180 pounds. I'm 4.8 pounds away. And I think I'm going to try and get to my goal weight by my birthday, which gives me exactly 1 month. Right. And push really hard and see if I can do that without going crazy. Right. That's roughly a pound a week where I'm at, which is not crazy weight loss. And I feel comfortable about that. But I am going to really try and buckle down and just sort of see, because I'm frankly kind of tired of, we've been doing this a while and like my weight has not gone down that much and I don't have that far to go. It's been this slow, steady progress of like consistency, which I'm really, really proud of. Don't get me wrong. Like, not gaining weight is like, not having my weight fluctuate by more than like 5 pounds in either direction for probably 8 months now is like a hell of an accomplishment when I'm not like way overweight or something. So I feel good about that. I am patting myself on the back, but I am kind of like, I don't want to sit there and say, I don't want to sit there and say, okay, well, I lost a half pound this week and I was up a pound, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So I would really, really like to just knock that out and then see if I can get back to this sort of maintaining at 180 for a month or so and see how that feels. And then if I want to go down further, maybe consider going down further, but just sort of reevaluate like how I'm feeling and body composition type stuff. But the other thing, and this is the last thing I'll say, is one thing sort of forgotten about and I haven't mentioned on the podcast is the idea where um, I got for Christmas a body scan. I got a gift certificate for a body scan to actually measure my body fat percentage at a local place. And I haven't used it yet. And so I think on my birthday, which could be a really like weird, like sombering way to turn 35, is to be like, oh, you have way more body fat than you realized or something, like if the scan comes out weird. But just kind of making that like an annual tradition to sort of see how my body composition changes relative to like what weight changes that I have, because I am now at a point where I have been very consistently working out for 2.5, almost 3 years now, right? And focusing on getting enough protein and working on my diet for a while now. And because I have not been perfect on the diet, that is what's kept me from being exactly the kind of like physique I envision myself getting to. But, I don't know. I feel really close. And so I want to see what the body fat percentage is so I can just sort of see like what kind of ballpark I'm in. And I think it'll be really interesting data. So that's my goal. And I'm putting it out in the public so you guys can hold me to it. What about you?
Cool. I
What are you
think
doing?
that's a fun idea for sure. Yeah. So this was not a good week for me. I will say that I was 194 when we recorded last Thursday. The next day, I had both girls home sick. Then on Saturday was a repeat solo girls sick day. On Sunday was one of the birthday parties where, it was a family birthday party. So I went a little too much down the pizza line. On Monday, I had this horrible experience trying to get a passport photo for my younger daughter. Then Tuesday, what was supposed to be a checkup for my car that was supposed to be a 2-hour appointment. I was there for 6.5 hours, so did
Ooh.
not really eat well that day. And then when I got home, ended up stuffing my face there, then went to the office Wednesday, then today is now Thursday again. We had some leftovers, so I did not eat well, but work has been annoying this week also, so I did kind of eat my feelings, and I am 195.8, so I gained almost 2 pounds since our last recording. I realize this is a very different week than most weeks, but so hopefully that's just an annoying fluctuation, and next week I'm a little bit more on track. But unlike you, everything that could have gone wrong for my diet this week did, whether it's being up all night, not home to eat properly. It was just not great. And I look forward to next week, which I hope will be better. And I am ending talking about this bad week of dad bod for me.
Yeah, well, that does not sound like a fun week, but I think, from your perspective, I would be interested, and maybe I'll do some homework and figure out some things of the eating the feelings, right? Because that seems to be it, right? Like life is going to throw you curveballs. It throws me curveballs. It throws you curveballs, and like there's not some moral triumph from me not eating my feelings. I don't think it's a good thing or a bad
Yeah.
thing. Judgment of a person, but I do think that it is one of the biggest hurdles to sort of get over. That I've seen this tweet and I've referenced it before, and it's something I always say to my therapist. But this tweet that's like, adulthood is just saying after this week things will get back to normal over and over again until you die.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's
Yep.
sort of how I feel,
Yep.
that every time we come on here, we're like, here's why it was a weird week. And
Right.
probably the answer is we need to expect it to be a weird week and change our behaviors and like be more adaptable or have different expectations. I don't know. But I think like the weird weeks that's how kids are, right? Like you're going to have weird
Yeah.
weeks when you've got kids involved, because the other stuff, the
Yeah.
car thing, the passport thing, like whatever, like those are going to come up, but like kids are also just going to get sick and they're going to throw curveballs, right? Like we had a thing with my
Yeah.
daughter
No, it's
on
terrible.
Wednesday, still not feeling well from Monday, but she was at school and her teacher was messaging us like, "Hey, your daughter says she doesn't feel well. She doesn't have a fever. Seems fine. If she does get a fever, she'll have to go home." And it was a lot of my daughter insisting to her teacher she didn't feel well, until my teacher said, "If you don't feel well, you can't go with Mimi tonight," because that's what we told her to say, because that
Mm-hmm.
was the truth. She had the night where she goes with my mother-in-law to her church, and she was like, "You can't go with Mimi." And all of a sudden, my daughter felt like she could stay at school for the next like 2 hours that she needed to. It was
It's funny how that
miraculous.
happens.
Yes, it was miraculous that this fever-free girl who had very vague symptoms of, I don't feel well and my tummy hurts, and like, when I don't think she's faking it, but when she clearly just doesn't feel 100% and she wants to get out of something, she is very good at picking the vague symptoms that cannot be proven. And so I sort of told her this morning, I was like, listen, if you're not throwing up, bleeding, running a fever, like just feeling bad, like I haven't felt bad pretty much all, like I haven't felt good pretty much all week, but here I am, I'm showing up, and sometimes we have to show up when we're only feeling 80 or 90%. So yeah, I get that, but that's a whole other tangent once again about kids getting sick. I feel like we could make this working on kids getting sick, we'd have a heck of a podcast. But anyway, that's all we've got for you guys today. Please share with a friend. Please like and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube. If you have comments, questions, concerns, innovative birthday party ideas, things that you do to sort of mitigate the gift thing in creative ways, we would love to hear feedback, because I feel like we both are having very standard birthday experiences and it just feels like a hamster wheel that I'd like to get off of just a little bit every now and then, shake things up. So if you've got any of those ideas, let us know. He's Ethan. I'm Alex. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks for working on the Dad Pod with us. Any resources that we mentioned during the show will be in the show notes. If you have questions, thoughts, or just want to talk with us, the best place is in the comments on YouTube. We're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at Working on the Dad Pod, and on Twitter at Working on Dad Pod. Following and subscribing is always appreciated. Please rate and review us. That helps get the show to new people. And if you know a dad who would enjoy our show, sharing it with them is a huge help to them and us. Have a great week.